All right, good morning, Devlin Latin 1 students. I hope you are doing well. It's possible you're getting this in the afternoon since it is an asynchronous lesson. And one of the tools that I'm often able to use um, on asynchronous days are recorded Google Slideshow presentations. Um, I think they're an awesome way for you to get new information. Um, And one of the valuable things is you can hear my voice, which brings joy and delight to the hearts of everyone, um, especially if I make puns during the course of the presentation. But the other benefit is that as a video, you can pause this at any point. If you, for example, are so busy laughing at my puns that you're missing material, you can press pause. Um, till you regain your senses, and then you can continue taking notes. Um, the other thing is, if you don't hear something well, you can rewind. That's the great thing about these video presentations. So it gives you a lot of control about how quickly you process information and record it in notes. I keep saying the word notes because I hope you will use them. Um, and yeah, so videos are a great tool. I am going to be making use of them today, and onwards we go. All right, the first step in really learning about Latin grammar and how to communicate in another language um, and understand what you're saying is to um, take a look at and come to understand parts of speech. This presentation may repeat information that you've encountered in English or language arts um, in elementary school or in junior high or middle school. But the goal of this is to establish a common language amongst all of us since we come from different schools and are in different grades. And in particular today, to begin to be able to apply that not to English, but to Latin. You can pause the slide and take down the descriptions of nouns and verbs. These are the first two of 8 parts of speech. We will do 2 per slide. So if you need to pause to take down these definitions or descriptions of what a noun is and what a verb is, do so, and then we'll move on to talk about Latin examples. All right, I assume you have come back after understanding that nouns are the names that we give to people, places, things, and ideas. Nomina Latina, Latin nouns, include several words that you've had a chance to start learning as part of our work in Chapter 1. So, for example, you might be able to remember the Latin word, the Latin noun for water. Yep, it's aqua. You might also be able to remember the Latin noun that means with chains. For example, when Amulius imprisons or locks up Rhea Silvia with chains, the Latin word for chains is a noun. Do you remember it? Yep, it's vinculis. Vinculis. Now, water and chains are what are called common nouns. To distinguish them from proper nouns are essentially names that we would capitalize, that we would put into um, a role of designating a specific person or a specific place or a specific thing. All right, so the White House. In that phrase, it's a proper noun, house. Um, what about the evil dude who locks up Rhea Silvia? What's his name? Yeah, it's Amulius. Amulius is a proper noun. All right, moving on to verbs. Verbs are a little bit more complicated than I have presented on this slide, but it is accurate to say that they express the action in a sentence. They tell what the noun does, the noun that is the subject of the sentence. They also allow us to state what something is. Um, is, for example, is a verb. It's a special kind of verb called a linking verb, because if I were to say, Mr. Habel, noun, is a teacher, is kind of like an equal sign, linking up the idea of Mr. Habel and teacher. We also have in Latin and in English verbs that we call transitive verbs. These express an action which affects someone or something else in the sentence directly. So if the player kicks the ball, the action of kicking is transitive. It affects the ball, and the ball goes flying into the goal. Sorry, I'm just getting excited about transitive verbs. Then there are, in addition to linking verbs and transitive verbs, a set of verbs that are called intransitives. Verbs that express actions, but actions which in the sentence don't directly affect anyone or anything else in the sentence. The subject does the action, but with no effect on anyone or anything. So if I say, for example, that in the dark forest, a tree falls. Falls is an action that the tree does, but in that sentence, that action doesn't affect anyone or anything. So, very long-winded at this point. This is the most long-winded segment of the video. Let's bring it back to real words that you know. Real Latin verba temporalia. For example, when the she-wolf cares for the twins. Cares for is a transitive verb. Do you remember what it is in Latin? Curat. Curat. Excellent. If we were to describe the she-wolf, um, no, no. Let's not describe the she-wolf. Let's describe the two boys. And remember that they grow up. They grow up, or they mature. What's the Latin word that means grow up? Yes, it's crescunt. Crescunt is an example of an intransitive verb, one that does not affect anyone or anything else in that sentence where it says Romulus and Remus grow up. All right, the last verb that I want you to think of is, I just said it, is. What's is in Latin? You're right, est. Est. So in the sentence, Mars est Deus, Mars is a god, is acting as a linking verb, kind of like an equal sign would in a math equation, to say Mars equals God. All right, cool. We're going to move on to parts of speech 2. Again, you can pause the video to take down the descriptions of the next parts of speech for me to describe, adjectives and conjunctions. Think of adjective, if you paused, we can think of all kinds of adjectives that exist in English. The blue sky, blue is an adjective. The large hamburger, large is an adjective. The delicious fries, delicious is an adjective. Adjectives exist abundantly in Latin. The funny thing is, in our chapter 1 reading, we haven't encountered any yet. Conjunctions, well, we've met some of those in chapter one. You've already started to learn some, and I'm going to revisit those with you. But when we think about Latin examples, it is really, really, really hard to call up any in your brain. So let me give you an example, a couple of examples that I'm pulling out of thin air. If I were to say in English, um, Augustus is the first emperor, I would say in Latin, Augustus est primus princeps. Primus is an adjective meaning first. If I were to say populus Romanus Romam amat, the Roman people, or as we translated Romanus yesterday, the people of Rome. Technically, it really means the Roman people. The Roman people love Rome. I would use the adjective Romanus. Another adjective that you've heard of, but you thought it was English, is the name of the mother city, the city from which Rome was colonized. Do you remember the name of that city? Yeah, it's Alba Longa. And longa, which literally means long, is an adjective. Okay? Um, let's push on. Conjunctions. You guys know a bunch of Latin conjunctiva. For example, you know the straightforward way to say and. The really easy, straightforward way to say and is et. In chapter one's reading, we also met another conjunction. It means and so. And so. And then I'm not going to try to fully explain this because I'm mean, horrible, and you don't want me to spend a long time on this. The little word particle que, and I call it a word particle because it's never used all on its own, but instead it gets tacked on to the end of another word. Que is another way to say and. We saw that yesterday with the memorabile dictu phrase, senatus populusque Romanus, the Senate and the people of Rome, or the Senate and the Roman people. Que means and. And I'm not trying to shock or surprise you, but guess what? It shows up on itaque. And if you notice in the translation of itaque, one of the things we're doing is we're taking the que from itaque and translating it as and. And then ita means so, and so. Right? Ita is a little word we're going to see on the next slide. It's great. It means yes, but it also means so. Okay, all right. Adverbs. Woohoo. Pause to take notes. All right, I assume that you've taken the notes. You probably have some questions in your minds about adverbs and pronouns. We will do, kind of going forward, more in-depth discussion of adverbs and pronouns. But let's look at a few Latin examples of adverbia that we have seen in the past. The kind of obvious one is the English adverb well. For example, I did well on the exam, or I know him well. Can you think of the Latin adverb that means well? Yep, it's bene. There's another adverb that we would use in English to it'll express the idea of negativity, the opposite of positivity. So, for example, if I said in English, today is not Sunday, not, N-O-T, is an English adverb. I haven't officially taught this one to you, but I am about to introduce it to you now. It's the little Latin adverb known. Known. You've seen it as part of the phrase non ita, as a two-word phrase, non ita. But known by itself is an adverb that means not. So to say in Latin, today is not Sunday, I would say, hodie non est dies solis. All right, the other adverb that we meet in the chapter reading, meaning afterward or later, postea. All right, picking up the pace. Latin pronouns or pronomina are used more rarely than pronomina in English. A little bit later on in life, in Latin, you're going to learn that ego means I. Ego is the way to say I, as in, let's sing the Barney song. I love you, you love me. Well, in Latin, it would be ego for I, if you really wanted to emphasize the I subject. And tu means you. Can't say more about them right now, because you don't want me to. But in later lessons, we'll talk about the pronouns. Prepositions. Pause to take notes on prepositions and interjections. We have not had many interjections. We've had a few prepositions so far. Prepositiones in our Latin reading in chapter 1, including the word that means to, T-O, to, like to the river or to Rome. What's T-O, to in Latin? Odd. Indeed. Now, what's the word that means into? As in, I walked into the city, or Amulius puts the children into the water. Yep, that is in. Okay. Whoops, longa is not a preposition. I forgot to edit that. Let's get rid of it. But since I'm here, let me teach you a new preposition, just for fun. It's the Latin preposition that means, oh, which one shall I give you? Oh yeah, why not this one? X. X is a Latin preposition. You can probably start to guess what it means. Sometimes X gets shortened down and spelled with a long E in Latin, A. If you've encountered this in the word within the word, you probably know what X or A means. If you think of, for example, the English words exit, or the English word eject, or the English word emit, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, X means out of or out from. Okay, and that's a new preposition. We'll meet it in later readings, later chapters. All right, for interjectiones, pushing forward. Again, this is our last slide. We have not had the opportunity to see many, interjectiones in use. We have seen a couple. Ita, which means yes. It means yes. It can also mean so. It's like if I wanted to say, is today Friday? I could answer it simply in English as yes. I could also say, so it is. That idea of so is ita. Yes. It's an interjection. Do you remember the really strong way to say no? We encountered it in our days of the week questions and answers. It's minime. Minime. And you know something about Minime? Minime loves chocolate. Sorry, that was a pun. That was a joke. Okay. It's from the Austin Powers movies, which you guys should never watch because it'll destroy your brains and you'll end up like me. Just kidding. All right. Um, you know something else? I can make another pun. After I draw this exclamation point, I can point out what a paradox it is that Minime loves to eat the chocolate. No? Yes? Get it? Minime? Minimi? Yeah, never mind. Okay. You guys are probably saying a lot of interjections right now. There are a bunch more in Latin. There are interjections that mean disgusting, foo-fi. There are interjections that mean hooray, oogapie. There are interjections that mean aw, aho. We don't have time. I don't have time to teach you more interjections. It is time to stop the recording and get you onwards to other things. Thanks for listening, um, and I hope that you have a great weekend ahead.